So,
Two peas in a pod.
all right. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah, just let me
Awesome.
follow along.
So tonight's March 1st here. I think it's second there, but it's focused on mental preparation, and then also talk a little bit about the periodization plan update and kind of where we're at with the periodization plan. Again, this is kind of the pathway for coaches: 201, 202, 203. Each one of them, like 201, it's just that foundation coach. Talent development is at 202, and then that high performance. We talked about last time just a little bit. I kind of want to spiral a little bit. And so last time, like, what's the win for the athlete? Why should they wrestle? And most of them do it because it's fun, right? And that's the same reason why we're coaching, to help advance and progress the sport of wrestling and athletes. Recruiting, we hit that really hard last time. So if you want to go back and watch that film and watch that, it is on the Wrestling Australia website under some more information. But basically it's, recruiting is pretty easy if you get them to sell it, right? Like if you know their win. Tonight is all about mindset. And how is tough mindset taught through wrestling? And how do you get athletes to achieve their goals and get that tougher mindset and overcome some of their fear? And how do they build confidence? And I'm going to kind of go through each one of these pictures as we go through these slides. I'm going to talk pretty quick and kind of fly through some of these, and then we'll have a lot of time for engagement because I want to counteract things. Obviously, mental preparation, when I ask coaches across the world, some of their basic things are, hey, we do a lot of journaling, right? Well, journaling, there's a lot of preparation that goes into journaling if you're a coach and how to strategically use that. Just like if you want 8 hours of sleep, then you better be in bed for at least 10 hours. Because you're going to be, a lot of people are on their phone. A lot of people are thinking about other things. They can't sleep. They wake up early. They get up in the middle of the night, all of those things. So if you want a true 8 hours of sleep, you better be in bed for 10. Another big, easy, quick mental confidence builder, easy thing that coaches can do. It also helps with recruiting. It's just quick, send them a quick note or a quick postcard, any of those things, after a tournament. Hey, great job, on this, or this, and they get it in the mail, especially with the younger athletes. They really like that. Mental tips for the average. This is just for the average wrestler, the average team, the average program, just quick, easy affirmations. So you make these affirmations, make a team affirmation. You write them down. You ask them what they are. You're constantly engaged with them, right? You write that list for your coaches so you can say them in the practice plan. That's part of it. Hey, we start practice with this. We end practice with this. You see this with some of the more elite programs and some of the world programs like Russia and those. They always have affirmations, and they always have, like, they're breaking down or they're saying things together. But there's also things that their coaches say to their athletes individually, like, you never get pinned. Man, you always get a turn. When you're on top, you always get to a leg lace, or you always finish this. Other quick, easy ones or quick interviews, like right before their big match, right after their big match, team songs, those things. When we get into anxiety, fear, stress, some of the mental aspects of wrestling, the quote unquote big match, right? What some of the things that come into play are, just really relaxation techniques. I showed some of these when I was down there in camp, which is some of the breathing techniques, just to slow down and get a clear thought and a clear mind. I'm going to kind of dive into that a little bit more, a little bit. This is a slide that I showed last time. Right now we're in preparation phase, and we're in the middle of, trying to peak here in a couple of weeks at the Olympic game qualifier. And then the next margin would obviously be the Olympic games. But right now we are preparing to peak at the Olympic game qualifier there in Egypt. This is one of those pieces. Part of the recovery is exactly what we were talking about when I just mentioned with the relaxation techniques. And that's when you look at number 5, and it should be 6 down below, your breathing and the neuro training. But at the same point in time, your mindfulness and your meditation and your mental rejuvenation. So when you're talking about mental, what are we doing in practice to help with our mindfulness, our meditation, our stresses, our anxieties, and also our recovery, right? Like how big is that in this? One of the questions that you've got to know is what is fear, right? And what is Google's definition of fear? And that's an intangible product of our thoughts. our psychological response that we have to danger. So whenever you feel like you are in danger, what is the response? Well, instantly, most of the time, that's fear when you feel like you're in danger. The anxiety, and let me kind of go back to that with fear in wrestling. You're talking about fear of failure a lot of times, fear of the big match or not winning or not qualifying the Olympic weight for the country, not qualifying the spot, not winning the Olympic spot or the national team spot. Those are all some of the fears that athletes might have. What goes with that is anxiety. Anxiety, that's the emotional state characterized by the nervousness, worry, apprehension. It's kind of associated with activation of the body, right? Because anxiety has a huge role on body production. There is two types of anxiety: cognitive, right, the mental side, and the somatic. Cognitive is you're worried, you get those negative thoughts, you get the doubts creep in, fear kind of rises mentally as well. Somatic is perceived logical, and so it's just that arousal there, and so then all of a sudden it starts shutting down and we can't perform as well, right? Because now we're slower, we're lethargic, we're all of those. So you have to note, first of all, where is your anxiety? Is it cognitive? Is it in your head? Is that you need to start monitoring your thoughts, having different self-talks? Do you need to change or stop those thoughts? Focus on the controllable things and not the things that we can't control. Or those focus on the present moment. Where are we at right now? What can I control right now in this moment? It's pre-match. We're getting ready to go qualify the Olympic spot. I'm getting that anxiety going in. Hey, this is in my head. This isn't in my body. This is in my head. I'm just nervous right now. I'm excited about the opportunity, right? And so that's when we need to employ the mindfulness techniques. And I'm going to go over some of those as well a little bit later. But that is if it's in your head, if it's cognitive, right? If it's cognitive anxiety, how can we control that? How can we monitor those thoughts? How can we change the negative and turn it into a positive? How can we change that to a green frame, so to say? If it's somatic, so that means it's in the body, right? And man, we're really feeling bogged down. We're really feeling slow. The anxiety is really stressing us out to the point where our body cannot perform at maximum level or at high performance. Well, now we need to do some recentering. We need to do some deep breathing. We need to get in that triangle breathing or that square box breathing. And we need to do the progressive muscle relaxation because we can't have that muscle tight and exploding and getting everything going through there. We've got to be fluid. We got to be smooth as fast, right? So we got to employ the relaxation techniques. And then there's also mindfulness techniques as well that helps relax the body. So then that way it can work appropriately. Going right into this off of this or kind of stemming off of this, your thought awareness. A lot of times when we talk about fear, we talk about anxiety. When we talk wrestling, it's more mental and it's more cognitive. Obviously, on the right hand side here, you can see the breathing and color breathing is another one where you think of different colors and what is a calming color compared to an intense color compared to all of those, and how do we breathe alongside that? If you're thinking about the ocean, that's probably that teal, that light green, light blue, almost clear, right? And it's nice and calming and refreshing. But if you're looking at that fire, that orange, that red, that yellow, that neon pink, all of a sudden that's probably going to be a little higher anxiety, a little higher heart rate, those things. And so just thinking about colors, and as you're doing those box breathing and triangle breathing, hand tracing breathing, that's the same thing where you're tracing the triangle. So you breathe in, all through your nose, but you're breathing in, then you're holding it, then you're breathing out, and you're connecting those dots. You're kind of tracing the box or the triangle. I've also seen this done with letters, where you're spelling out letters and you're spelling out, winning or calming or whatever your goal is. You're writing it out and you're breathing with those letters as you write them in the air as you're hand tracing. Some of the techniques when we talk about cognitive side and the thought awareness, first of all, you've got to catch. You've got to be aware, and you got to have self-awareness around the unproductive thought, the negative thought, like, oh my gosh, this opponent is really good, or oh my gosh, what if I lose and I don't qualify the weight, all of those negative things. You need to catch that right off the bat. That's the first step. Then you've got to check yourself, and you got to recognize the thought that, hey, this is not helping me. It's not, it's out of the present moment focus. I'm worrying about something that we don't even know the verdict yet. I haven't even stepped on the mat. I haven't even shaked hands. I haven't even started the match yet. And so this is just part of that check, or that recognizing, right? Like this is not helping me whatsoever. I'm worried about an outcome that we haven't even started the match yet. And then we need to change that, right? So we need to have a cue word. And I talked about this on the goal cards last time, where athletes write like what cue they want and where they want, and how we rephrase or how we return the focus back to something more relevant in the moment. Like, hey, I get to get ready to have this opportunity to qualify the Olympic spot, right? And so you're changing that mindset, you're reframing it, you're turning it back to green. It was in that high intense red, orange, flames, fire, man, everything, but you caught it, right? You were aware of the unproductive thought. You recognize that thought that, hey, this isn't helping me. Now we need to change it, and we need to reframe it, and we need to hit that keyword or that color or whatever that action is, and we need to start making that change, right? To get the heart rate back down, to get the clear mind, to get the anxiety out of there, so we can wrestle clean and wrestle to our high performance that we know we can. And that's part of that reframing. So you're thinking of that alternative, more productive way to see the event. So instead of saying, man, I have to qualify the Olympic spot, I have to go to the Olympics, I have to do this because I'm the national team member. No, it's that reframing. I get to. It's not a have to, but it's a get to. I get the opportunity to qualify this weight for our country. I get the opportunity to represent Australia. Any questions so far? And I can't see you guys because I'm seeing my screen. So if you guys just kind of unmute, and any thoughts, anything so far?
All good so far.
Perfect. So how do we conquer fear, right? How do we conquer fear? Obviously, the thought awareness is a huge key in this, right? We got to be aware that there is fear, or there is doubt, or there is all of these negative thoughts creeping in, the heart rate, all these anxiety. The anxiety is coming in, and we know that it's cognitive. It's not necessarily physical, but this is cognitive and mental, right? Which is affecting the physical, or could affect the physical. And so, first of all, we got to be aware of it. We know that breathing can help calm the nervous system from feeling anxious. We know that. That's statistically data. Doctors have proven this, right? Tons and tons of studies have shown this. So we have to go back to moments when you felt the most confident. And I'm going to kind of walk you through some of this and let you experience this and see what you guys think. And then I'll ask you questions at the end. But we got to go back to moments when you feel the most confident, because that's one way to conquer fear, is through confidence. And so that helps us overcome our fears. So then we also got to know, well, what is confidence, right? Because there's arrogance, there's confidence, there's all these terms that go with it. But what is confidence? Well, confidence is the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something, a firm trust. It's not a feeling, but an action. So the way that I kind of view this, or the way that I viewed this in this presentation, is when I'm in a wrestling mode, my confidence is nobody can stop my single leg. Nobody's going to stop my outside single leg. Nobody stopped it. They might have stopped it once, but I get to it the second time. I get to it the third time. I create my different setup. I get to my second, my third, my fourth setup. They're not going to stop it. I have 100% confidence in my outside sweep single. Like, nobody's going to stop it. And that's an action. That's not just a belief. That's not a feeling. That is an action. I know that this is my strength. I know that I've done this 5 million times. I've practiced this. I've done this. I've proven to myself I have, I have successes. I know for a fact that I've hit this in the quote unquote big matches before. I've won national titles with this shot, through this action. Some general rules that I kind of came up with, or general rules or thoughts of confidence that I think are very, very important, is the action of confidence comes first. The feeling comes later, right? Like, once I hit the first takedown, or once I get the first shot on that single, now all of a sudden I'm starting to build that feeling of like, yeah, this is my go-to. But it's the action that's first. Genuine confidence, or true confidence, is not the absence of fear. Like, I still have that fear of, this guy is really, really good. My opponent is really, really good. She can stop my shot, once, maybe. Like there's that fear of I get in the shot and they're going to stop it and score off of it. They're going to counter. So it's not the absence of fear, but it's still the confidence that I'm still going to get to my shot. I'm still going to score from my shot. So there's no absence of fear. And then that's one of those rules of confidence. Negative thoughts, those are normal. You can't fight them, but you can't worry about something that hasn't happened yet. You can't worry about not qualifying the Olympic spot when you haven't even got on the mat yet. You have to have the confidence that I'm going to earn. I get the opportunity because of what I've done so far, but because of my past successes, I get the opportunity to earn the Olympic spot for my country and represent them in the Olympics. But those negative thoughts are normal. So don't fight them. We just got to reframe them a little bit. Don't be obsessed with the outcomes. Get passionate about the process. And that's where you're at right now. You're in the middle of a periodization plan. And I know physically you've been doing the periodization plan. You're getting the volume, you're getting the intensity, we're getting those repetitions, we're balancing that out. The coaches, I know Connor and myself have kind of been sending some emails and texts back and forth, looking at some statistical data from Guam. We're looking at some matches and matchups that we could potentially have. We're looking at that and we're getting very, very passionate about this process, or at least I know I am. And I know through the emails and through his language, he is as well. I know Andre is in the same boat. And so as we're looking at this, we're not obsessed with the outcome. We're getting really, really passionate about the process. And I think that's where athletes are the same thing. Like you're going to get on the mat and wrestle to try to qualify the Olympic spot, or, to try to get to represent your club. If you're a club coach, you get to really get passionate about the process of these athletes learning through this. Failure hurts, but if we're willing to learn, it's a wonderful teacher. The failure will teach us way more, right? And I think we all agree on that. And I think we all know that. So it does hurt to lose. No wrestler ever gets on the mat and tries to lose. I have yet to meet one of them that does that. But it is a wonderful teacher when we do fail at times. And I think that's why, as coaches, and especially at the youth and the development level, you really need to preach that failure in the practice room is expected. Like you're expected to continue to work your setups, work your shots, and hopefully our partners are good enough to shut that down a little bit. And so failure does hurt, but that is where the learning grows, and we need to be able to fail in the room and learn through that process. Key to peak performance: total engagement in the task, no matter how scary it might be, no matter how scary it is to get on the mat. Whether it's the first match you've ever wrestled and you're 6 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old, or it's the first time you've ever tried to qualify an Olympic weight, or it's the first time you've ever gotten to represent your country. It is a little scary, but at the same point in time, that's the key to peak performance is total engagement in the task, not necessarily what the outcome is going to be, but the task at hand. And the higher level you go, every high level athlete can tell you this. Matches are won or lost with stance and motion. At the end, when you're winning by one, it's stance and motion. Are we chaining? Are we able to circle back into the middle of the mat? Are we able to not get out that step out point? All of those things, and the focus is on the basic. And the more solid you are with the foundation, and this really goes out to the youth and the development coaches, the more you can focus on the basic skills, the more that they're going to have confidence as they grow through and they get at a higher level. And when they get to that high performance athlete that's qualifying the Olympic Games, they're going to go back to, that cave. They're going to go back to, when they get scared, that security blanket. And if that's the basics, then you're probably going to see a really, really good result. So because that is what they do to gain confidence, is they go back to those basics. From fear to confidence, this is a really good slide. I'm going to show this a couple times. If you see the top left, underconfident, that's your fear, your doubt, your worry, your hesitation, your intimidation, right? When you're feeling confident and when you're very confident in things, and you're confident in your shot or your takedown or your lace or whatever it is, then you have courage to take that risk. You have courage to take that shot. You trust that if you take that shot, you're able to defend if they block it. You trust that you're able to finish if you get to that leg. You have that belief. You're prepared mentally and physically. You're confident. You're prepared. You're ready. You're ready to have that action. And if you're overconfident, Now we're complacency, right? Like, we've already won the national team spot. I don't have to go to this camp. I don't have to hit that volume. I don't have to hit that level of intensity right now. I can get away from a periodization plan a little bit. That's when you start feeling a little more overconfident because you're fearless. You're like, I'm already the guy. I'm already the girl. I'm already the national team. And you start to get a little bit careless, right? And then when you get careless, then you become a little bit more unprepared because you're overconfident. You're not paying attention to those little details. And this is one of those big things from fear to confidence. This is where these are some of those elements or characteristics that you need to have. Positive self-talk. I've talked about it. I'm going to walk you through some things. I'm going to walk you through a match. And so if you want to mentally, or if you want to comment, you can unmute and speak out. We can kind of walk through these. That would be awesome. So confidence. Where do you guys think confidence comes from? If somebody will just unmute and kind of hit, and if it's one-on-one conversation, great. Or if everybody wants to chime in, great. But where do you think confidence comes from?
I reckon preparation and just reps in the training room.
Awesome. Anybody else? It could be little things, right? This is one of my wrestler's shoes. He spray painted it like the Joker. I think I showed this when I was down there, but that gave him confidence to where he's just like, man, this is it, man. I'm as good as Batman. I'm going to defeat Joker, and I'm going to be Joker, and I'm going to create. And so little things, right? But confidence comes from 4 different things, in my mind and in my view, statistically. One, exactly what Connor said. Or I think it was Connor. It sounded like Connor.
Yeah,
But is preparation, right? What have you done? What have you done to prepare? What's the work that you've put in? And when you put in everything that you possibly can, and you didn't miss a day, and you didn't miss a repetition, and you gave your very best, and you failed in the room, and you learned through those failures, that's all part of that preparation, and that's part of that preparation cycle. And you're on a periodization plan, and you're following that periodization plan. Another one is your strengths. What are your strengths? For me, it's that outside single. It's that sweep single. It's that shot. What is my go-to? What is my security? Is it, one of my assistant coaches, nobody can break his stance. Nobody can break his positioning. That's his strength. He's going to stay in position until you get out of position, and then he's going to score on you. Past successes. That's another piece of this. That's the third piece of this is your past successes, right? Knowing that you can do this, knowing that we just won the Oceanic Games, knowing that we are good, right? Knowing that we can go win. We've done this before. This isn't anything new at a big stage. We got to the big stage. We won the big stage. We've done this. And then the last one, and this is just more those past successes, right? Showcasing that we can medal, we can win. But the fourth one is praise. You have to have praise from your coaches. If you're a development coach, the more you can praise, the more that helps them become more confident, right? The more that they understand, because you're praising different things. The more things that you can praise, the more confident they're going to be in a different way, whether it's mentally, physically, any of those things. And so those are the 4 things. Confidence comes from preparation, knowing your strengths, past successes, and praise. And maybe your strength is, and part of your preparation that goes right into this is calming anxiety, and you don't get nervous. You don't get anxious when it comes to a big match. You're that highlight reel. You're the one that performs under the lights. You're the big show, the big match wrestler, right? That's where a lot of confidence comes from. As I've said multiple times, you need to focus on the process and your opportunity, the details you need to be prepared so you have no anxiety or stress. This goes for coaches and athletes, not just athletes. This is coaches, and when I'm talking to Connor, and I'm he and I've been talking back and forth, like, what's our process? Are we looking at these statistics? Are we looking at the opportunity where we can coach the athletes the best way that we know how? Are we putting, Connor in the best scenario where he knows how to appropriately apply the periodization plan? Are all those little details prepared? When he goes to a tournament, has he scouted the opponents enough to where he knows how to coach them at the break, each athlete at the break, knowing what's going on? Can he read the athletes during the match to where he can apply what the athlete needs to hear during the break? And then as you're prepared, use those strengths. So all the video review and all the statistic review and all that stuff that Connor and the coaching staff are going to do for the Olympic game qualifier, we got to use them in the tournament, right? We got to use those because those are part of our strengths. Youth development coaches, I see this all the time with them, is they do all this work and then they get to a tournament and they go way off and coach something completely different and get way away from the game plan. And you got to use those strengths. That's what you've been working on and building. So while knowing that you've won the trials, right, and you know that you're successful, your coaches, everybody's seen your hard work, right, and all of that stuff. Now you got to continue to put the drops in the goal bucket, right? Like the goal is to qualify the Olympic weight. You need to keep putting every day, what are those little drops in there, right, in that bucket to where we can reach that goal. When we're talking about developing reality-based confidence, it's crucial, right? Not just in being a champion, but happiness in life in general. If you go into a match, the Olympic game qualifier, and you give everything that you can, and you know that your preparation, your periodization plan, you did everything exactly on, you go into the match, you give it 100%, you give everything that you have, and you walk off the mat, you're generally going to be happy if you know that there was no gap or there was no anything unturned, right? No stone unturned. The confidence that you develop, it must be based on reality. Okay. It cannot be an act. It's got to be on reality. You have to know that you did all the repetitions. You have to know as a coach that you planned the practices accordingly to the best of your ability and in reality of what's going to help the athlete. Not just, hey, I'm here and I got to run this practice and it's got to be 40%, intensity. This volume's got to be here. The intensity's got to be here. That's not good enough. It's got to really go down to what really went on in this practice. It cannot be an act. And true confidence, it's on the inside, not just on the outside. You have to truly believe and be confident in that your actions are not just a feeling, right? So then I get asked a lot whenever I start going through some of these things. A lot of people are like, well, how do you be a champion? And to me, it's really simple. Well, you got to act like a champion. That's it, right? Like if you want to be a champion, you got to act like a champion and do the things that a champion does. They prepare, they plan, they periodize, they have training. All of those are properly done. They eat right. Their goals are set right. Each practice has a goal. They have micro, macro, right? Mesocycles. They have all of those with their goals as well. They eliminate all the distractions. They're not distracted with anything else. When they're on the mat, they're on the mat. When they're lifting weights, they're lifting weights. When they're eating, they're eating. Everything is structured and it's all the distractions are gone. And then at the same time, they need to learn to relax and learn those relaxation techniques that help them the best, because that definitely boosts confidence. And so the more that you can have strategies that boost your confidence, the more that it's going to be like a champion. And that anxiety, that fear, that doubt is going to go away. You've got to have that confidence in your long-term athletic development plan or that model. If you are a coach, you have to have 100% that you are developing these athletes the way that you want to develop them. And as an athlete, you got to have complete trust in that coach, right? We talked about this last time. How do you organize and plan like a development camp? This is the same thing leading into like Olympic game qualifier. All of that. What is that periodization plan? Same thing. You plan the work, you work the plan, then you adjust as you start learning and you start failing, and then you advance. What's the end goal that you want? And what are those accountability points, right? Visualization. We're going to walk through a match. So I'm going to walk you guys through things. Everybody still good? Any questions, anything so far?
Oh, good.
Okay, perfect. So now let's talk a little bit. You can say these out loud, or you can say them in your head. But I encourage you to do this. This is very good as a coach and as an athlete. What's your best 3 matches? If I ask you to describe or tell me your best 3 matches, and I'm just going to go about 15 seconds on each slide, and then I'm going to kick through, and you'll see where this goes. But what's your best 3 matches? What do they look like? How do they feel? Why? Why are those the best 3 and not other ones? Maybe it's a match that you coached. Maybe it's a match that you wrestled. Why? Why is that your best? What about that match made it one of your top 3? Where were you? Were you in a big environment, in a crowded environment? Were you in an isolated place where it was just, a single match and there were maybe 10 people in the crowd? Was it loud? Was it quiet? Who was with you? How did their body language look? Was their body language intense? Was it calm? Was it confident? Was it engaging to you? What did they say or do that you remember? Do you remember them saying something specific over and over? Or do you remember them saying nothing? If you were the coach, say you're doing this as an athlete, if you were the coach, what would you have said? What would you have told yourself? Would you have acted like them or would you have done something different? If you were a coach, then you could say, what should you have said? Did you say the right things during that match? It's one of your best. How'd you feel physically? How did you feel in those best 3 matches? Did you feel on top of the world? Did you feel strong? What about mentally? Were you confident going into the match? Was there a point in the match where the mentally changed, where the mental side of things changed when you took over? Maybe you broke the opponent. How'd you feel about that during that match? It's one of your best 3 matches. How do you feel now thinking about that match? Were you prepared? Did you have a game plan going into that match? Did you have a specific goal for that match? Did you work in preparation for that match? So, what about them made them your best? Or why were they your best? Was it because you won? Maybe you lost. I've done this with athletes in the past, and it was a match they lost, but it was one of their best matches because it was somebody they had been chasing for 2 years and they got within a point. But what about them made them your best? Was there a pre match routine? Was there a certain meal or a certain diet or a certain thing that you did before that match? And you know, right now, this is exactly what I did post weigh in before the match. Was there certain clothes that you wore? Do you have lucky socks on, or do you have a certain singlet? You were wearing red, you were wearing blue, whatever it is. Was there a certain warm up or a certain warm up partner or a certain song during warm ups? What was part of your pre match routine? Do you remember it? Was it very specific? Was it detailed, planned? Successful people choose to view setbacks, right? They're temporary, they're localized, and they're changeable. They're not permanent. They can be changed, right? And I told you one of the matches that I walked through with an athlete one time, and they said it was a match that they lost, but they had been chasing them. And they realized that, hey, this is changeable. Like I significantly changed my approach and I did things. Yes, it was a loss, but that's just a temporary thing. I'm going to get this athlete again. And they ended up beating the athlete a couple years later when they got a rematch with him. But going through that visualization, what was some of your thoughts when I was asking these questions? I want some feedback here. So if you guys want to unmute and just kind of give me some feedback, what were kind of some of your thoughts on a positive side here on a winning match, on a good match, right? Did you like going through the visualization? Have you done that before? Give me some feedback. Nobody? Nothing?
Sorry, just had to unmute there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess for me, like just thinking back on it, like the ones in my head where I thought I wrestled well, like still gets me a bit fired up, like still feel passionate about it. It's obviously good to look back on it as well, and it kind of makes me excited for like working with our athletes like towards the future and stuff.
Sure. Right. And that's it. It gets the heart rate up, gets you ready to go again, right? Like you're like, oh man, that was awesome. It was a great moment, right? It was a great moment. It was a great match. And reliving it, it was something that means something to you, right? And so and those are things. And that's it helps build confidence. And now and just listening to you, and I can't see your face, but I can listen to you, and it's like, man, I can hear the excitement in your voice, like, man, now I'm ready to work with athletes. Like I want to give them that experience, right? Um, yeah. Anybody else? Any other thoughts on going through that visualization? Okay, we'll flip. Uh, so now let's touch a glimpse, just a glimpse on the other side. What does everything going wrong in a match look like to you? So if you're having a bad day on the mat, what does that look like to you? It could be a variety of things, right? I'm slow. They're getting in on my legs. They're winning the hand fight. They're pushing me around. They're stronger than I am. There's so many things that could go there. How do you adjust? What do you need to do? What do you need to hear? What's your corner need to say? What's your coach? What do you want your coach to say? Right? What do you need to be doing different? Are you doing everything you can and you don't know? So then you have to rely on your coach? How do you adjust? Goes back to this fear to confidence, right? And if you're confident, then you're going to trust that coach or what's going to be being said. You're going to trust to get back to your offense. You're going to trust to get back to your attacks. You're going to be able to believe that you can get to those, right? You can go back to your confident in your preparation. Watch yourself correct the situation, right? So you hear what you need. So now you see the success and what it looks like. So you're getting pushed around, you're getting attacked, whatever that looked like when it was a match that didn't go so good. Maybe it was one of your worst 3 matches. And then you hear yourself coach, or you hear yourself coach yourself and tell you what to do in adjustment. And now watch yourself make that adjustment and get to your offensive attack. What does that look like? What does that make you feel like? One person with a confidence is a majority. One person with confidence is a majority. So now I'm going to ask a couple things directly. Like, what are your thoughts on the current mental training of yourself or your athletes? If you're the coach or if you're an athlete right now, I've went over several mental things, mental training, a lot of things to get rid of fear, anxiety, how to build confidence, a lot of the mental sides, the breathing, relaxation, all of those things to where you can perform at your best or at the highest performance level. What's your general thoughts on the current mental training that we're doing right now, whether it's yourself or athletes? What do you guys got? Anything? Mental prep? No, everybody's good. Everybody's good. Mental training, awesome. I love it. Makes the job easy, right? like, um,
I can't
yeah.
really speak for majority of the athletes, but I know when I was wrestling, a big change in my performance came with like good mental training. So I used to get really bad match day anxiety, and it cost me really big in a few like big competitions, so world championships, Olympic trials, and all that sort of stuff. And then I went and sought the help of a psychologist, and it completely turned my performance around. So I think it's something that like we definitely need to look at. And I think one of the big things for me was just being able to put things into perspective. So Kind of just the psychologist was like, oh, all right, so who does this result really matter to? And I was like, oh, firstly myself, the federation, my friends, family, blah blah blah. He's like, look, at the end of the day, if you want to lose, do your friends and family still love you? It's like, yeah. And then he was like, all right, if you want to lose, you're still the best person that the national committee could have sent to the competition. It's like, yeah. And he's like, so if you go out there and wrestle your best, like at the end of the day, the result only really matters to you. I think just kind of having that view in it, like, done a lot for me.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, right? Like I tell my athletes all the time. I was just telling Kyle, we've got 14 weight classes here at our team for the high school level. I've got 140 athletes. We got 14 spots. 10 out of 14 went to state. We had a champion, and right before his championship match, he had anxiety and some stress and some of those things. And I said, "Is your mom and dad?" And he felt pressure from his dad, and I'm like, "Well, the only one that can put pressure on you is yourself." Right? Like your dad or mom cannot put pressure on you. It's because if you don't care about it, then no matter how much they care about it, it doesn't affect you, right? If you don't really care. But and so he was feeling some of that. And I'm like, are they gonna love you any less, whether you win or lose, whether you're the state champion or the runner up? Like, are they gonna love you any more or less? And he was like, well, no. And exactly what you were saying. So you're spot on, coach. That's great stuff. the so um Another quick question. So how are periodization plans going right now? Like, are we feeling good about those? Are we feeling like, hey, maybe we need, maybe we're off just a touch, or like is practices going the way that we want them and the way we feel comfortable there and the way that they're being run? Does everybody feel good there? Like, I mean, I think we're in the right training camps. It sounds everything I'm hearing back and the feedback I'm getting is good. So that's why I'm asking like kind of an update on that. Like, are we good? Is everything still seem like it's
Yeah.
flowing good?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy for the time being. Nachi's fitness has improved like through the roof. She's definitely had like a massive increase since the camps in November, since you the last saw her. The training here is pretty tough, and I think it's really, really good for Jess and Nachi because they're both getting solid rounds in every single practice. Um, the morning sessions, the cardio is pretty crazy here, which I think Japanese girls are kind of renowned for. Um, but the we're kind of if I think it's too much, I'm happy to tell them like, oh look, this time, like for this example, this morning, they had him running up a hill carrying two people in the back. I'm like, this close to trials is probably not the best idea to be running up a hill with two people on your back, just because potential for injuries. You've already done a hard workout, and like the other thing as well, the Japanese girls that we're training with, they're not in season right now, so they can afford to do all this crazy cardio stuff, whereas we're looking at getting ready for an Olympic trial, so it's a bit of a different scenario.
Yeah, that is, and that kind of puts you in that hard spot of like, when do you say enough's enough, or like when do
Yeah,
you pull them back, or when do you lighten their load? But that's the responsibility of the coach, right? That's where you got to
yeah,
be the bad guy at times.
yeah,
But and knowing that, right, and knowing that fine line, and that's it, and the athletes trusting you, but to see and hear that that their improvement is coming on, like that's super exciting, and that tells us that the plan's right in place. We've just got to, you know, less is more sometimes, but that's where you're the coach, and that's why you're there,
yeah.
right? So these are good. Um, Trying to think. Um, is there anything else that I can do for any one of you guys? Like, is there anything that I can help you another way? I know that our next call is the 15th, so in a couple weeks. And I know that on that call, it's going to be more about the Mega Week coming up. The next time I'm down there in June, it'll be about the Mega Week and all that's going to go on there with the coaches and coaches education and the camps that are going on and all of that stuff coming in. So that'll kind of be the next big call. But I know, like, I've done a lot of, like with Victoria and stuff, I've done a lot of film and I've done a lot of things. And so I know we've kind of sent some messages back and forth. And if there's anything I can be doing on my end, I know I'm doing some more statistics for you, Connor, and I'm doing some more
Yep.
film reviews and breakdowns, and I'll have all that stuff and I'll get that to you. But if there's anything I can be doing, even on the development side, Muhammad and those guys, like if there's anything that I can be doing all the way through, let me know. Send me a message, send me something through Instagram or text or call or whatever. and I could do it. Is there anything that you know of, like right now as a whole, like that, hey, this would be very beneficial for all of Wrestling Australia?
I think probably just strategies for grassroots. Like we're struggling a bit, obviously, which I'm assuming you know anyway. And I think one of the biggest issues, especially like in Victoria where I'm from, and I'm pretty sure across most of Australia, um, most of the wrestling clubs are MMA gyms. It's not actual wrestling gyms. I think probably me and Alan have the only two wrestling gyms in Australia. So just we can recruit through MMA gyms, obviously, but like to start actual wrestling clubs and developing and just getting a general interest in wrestling, I think that's somewhere we could really use some help.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So because these are all things that I want, because this can help me lead into the next presentation and also lead into the mega week, obviously, to hopefully we can have a good kickoff. So okay. Well, I've taken up plenty of your time. I appreciate all you guys having it on. Let me know, like give me some feedback, like individually or whatever. It doesn't have to be on this, but all of these recordings are on Wrestling Australia. So if you missed one, or if you want to go back and watch something, I've got all the recordings are on Wrestling Australia's website. And then this one will be put on. Kyle will put it on, as soon as he gets back and all that stuff and gets it done. And so then you can rewatch it or whatever. And if there's something that you want from me, if you want the slideshow, you want anything, don't hesitate, reach out, let me know, and I'll send it back. It was awesome seeing you guys, man. I miss you guys. Can't wait to get back down there and get going again. So, practice is good.
Thank you. All good. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I was with the class.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good. Like I said, anything that you want to go back and watch, go for it. So awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys being on. You guys have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.